What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking out the Cool Factor podcast here at the Impact Lounge. I'm your boy BQ. He is your boy TW, and we're going to be talking some Impact Wrestling just like we do each and every week. If you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and become a subscriber if you want to be part of the Impact Lounge, which is the number one place to be for the Impact Wrestling fan. And we are the number one podcast covering Impact Wrestling. So this is going to be our rundown today. We're going to keep this real simple. We're going to talk the AEW Impact crossover. I hate working relationship or partnership. I feel like that's a wrestling fan term. I don't know, working relationship. I call it a crossover. That's the way I kind of look at it. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to run down our favorite parts or least favorite parts about the episode of Impact, and then do a little fan Q&A. I don't even like to say fans, listener Q&A from the YouTube comments. So, yeah. I think the first point I have to make here is that I just have to dedicate a segment to the first two matches of Impact having 3 double axe handles off the top rope. And we even saw a body slam. We saw some attempted body slams. This took me back to like being a kid where you know, someone's wrestling King Kong Bundy and they're trying to body slam him, you know, for whatever reason. But yeah, Motor City Machine Guns had 2 double axe handles off the top rope, and Jordan Grace had one off the second rope. So
wow, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. And then we got a body slam. I think AC Romero body slam one of the machine guns, and I feel like that's one of those moves when someone makes fun of pro wrestling, they're like, "Oh, body slam," you know, but no one ever really body slams anybody. So
that's true. You've never seen that anymore.
Not anymore. They don't.
But you know, though, like, see, you didn't tell me you were going to say that, because you were going to derail this whole podcast, because I will go on an endless rant about the style of wrestling that exists today. Like, I was watching this Moxley versus Omega main event, and at one point I literally tweeted out, "This is not good wrestling." And I'm like, this is because the style of wrestling today, man, it's just like, who cares if it makes sense? Like, yo, can I be real with y'all? This is a safe space. This is a safe space. We're all friends. Okay. It's just me and all of you guys. Okay. It doesn't matter. Women's wrestling is way better than men's wrestling right now. And I'm going to tell you why. Women's wrestling is way better than men's wrestling right now, because it looks so much more real. It looks way more like a fight. You know what I mean? Like, way less, you know, waiting for my Hurricane Rana and you know, destroyers and, you know, all of that stuff, man. Like, women's wrestling, you see strikes and arm bars and stuff that makes sense. Men's wrestling has just gone out the damn window, bro. Like, honestly, it really has. And like, yo, oh my God, don't get me started with the no selling, bro. It's like, yo, you gonna hit 3, 4, 5 like finishers in a row. It's like, yo, DDT, stand right up. And then the guy who got DDT gives the clothesline from hell. Then the other guy who got the clothesline from hell, stand up, give you a stunner. Then he stand up, give you a power bomb. I'm like, yo. And then both guys later, like, oh. And I'm like, dog, come on, man. Like, that shit takes me so out of it, yo.
There was an AEW pay-per-view a couple months ago. Dark Order hit 3 straight finishers on QT Marshall. QT Marshall, not Cody. Yeah. And he kicked out. I was like, dude. And I tweeted this out the other day. So when Penta was in Impact, if he broke the arm, he broke the arm. If he broke it in Lucha Underground,
right,
that guy was out of action for a while.
Right.
He had this match.
He does that shit now in the middle of the match.
Yeah,
and just keeps going.
He had this match with Phoenix, broke the arm. 30 seconds later, Phoenix hits a destroyer. Like, do you think Petey Williams, if he had his arm broken on Impact, would hit the Canadian Destroyer 30 seconds later? That's exactly what happened, and Phoenix won the match with it. And then the next week, Penta wrestles Kenny Omega, breaks the arm. Less than a minute later, Kenny Omega does the one-winged angel using the arm to reach up and get him in power. I was like, dude, because wrestling has this reliance on the finisher. I'm like, you couldn't think of a different way. I know we only use finishers and roll-ups to win matches, but like you couldn't.
But also, if everything's a finisher, nothing's a finisher.
Yeah, very true.
And that's where we are. And here we are.
Fair enough. So on the point of AEW, so we're going to talk about this crossover partnership, whatever you want to call it, working relationship. We don't know the details of what it's going to be yet. We don't know. There's speculation that Impact talent is going to appear on AEW. And if you're just now kind of checking out AEW because you haven't been watching it in the past, they have been, I don't want to say they've established something with NWA, but Thunder Rosa from NWA has been on Impact. On AEW on Dynamite. She actually lost the NWA women's title to Serena Deeb. So an AEW talent actually has the NWA championship right now. And then when they had a rematch, you would think that Thunder Rosa was going to win, and she lost the rematch. So she still doesn't have her title back, and she's off in another feud.
Is Serena an AEW talent?
What's that?
Is Serena an AEW talent? Serena Deeb, she's an AEW talent?
Yeah, she has that NWA championship.
Did not know that.
Women's championship. So they've been doing a little with NWA, but I would imagine what they're going to do with Impact is a little more expanded than that. It's not just one person showing up with a title. It seems like there's going to be a little crossover. And, I poke fun at Josh Matthews with his dream match thing all the time. Like there's actual dream matches you can put together now.
Yeah.
Because you're working with a different company. But yeah. I've kind of talked about it a little bit on YouTube already, a little bit on Twitter. So what are your thoughts on this whole thing? This is something people are excited about, and as they should be.
Yes, people should be excited about, and this is something that all of the conversation was about. On Wednesday night after Dynamite, and deservedly so. I mean, this was the biggest thing in wrestling on Wednesday night, and it was awesome. First of all, from an AEW standpoint, I think this is awesome because AEW is being the bridge for wrestling. Like WWE's isolationist policy, for those of you who took social studies, WWE has been an island to and of itself. And, their policy was nothing else exists outside of us. And it's worked, right? Because all of you know people who have grown up watching primarily WWE and being brainwashed by Mick Wrestling, right? And so they see things in the way that, Vince wants them to see them and think about them. And AEW has kind of made it its business to be the anti-WWE in some ways, and in this way in particular, right? It looks like they are making it their mission to be the bridge to like all wrestling. Like they're pulling people off the indies, which you can tell by a lot of these matches. They are pulling people off the indies, and even Impact, right? The bastard meth addict friend of the wrestling industry. And like they're wrapping their arms around Impact and saying, "Come in here and get clean, and let's just see if we can get you back out into society." And so cheers to AEW for that. Cheers to AEW for that. And you know who else deserves cheers? I'm going to tell you. Okay. Now let me start with this. If you like something, you should criticize it. If you like a sports team or an author who writes books or articles, or if you like a singer or a rapper or a band or whatever, you should criticize them. You should criticize them to keep them honest. You should criticize them to hold them accountable. Otherwise, you're a sycophant. You're one of these sheep who complains every week that the company is not putting enough effort into the shows and that they're just on cruise control. And then you not only continue to watch the show every week, but you continue to tweet about the show and keep it relevant. And you continue to fork over your $9.99 every month for content that you can probably find somewhere on the internet for free. I digress. The point is, if you like something, you should criticize it. So we criticize Impact. We criticize Impact because we like Impact and because we don't do them any favors by telling them their stuff is good if it's not. Okay. We've criticized Impact a lot. Me in particular, I've criticized Impact for their slow burn build into reestablishing itself as a national or worldwide brand. I'm like, you see AEW coming up. They got so many fans. They're popping. They got, all of this stuff going on. You guys need to be doing it quicker, better, faster. And a lot of Impact fans are feeling very restless, just like I am, right? About wanting to see more faster from Impact. But if you step back and you take a look at the whole forest, right? Not just the tree that's right in front of your face. You have to give these guys credit for what they've been doing. If there's one thing that you could say about Impact kind of undeniably is that they put on a good show every week. Some weeks is better than others, but for the most part, Impact puts out a good show every week. And the one thing that they're truly missing is just some positive buzz. And so what this company needs more than anything else is to find some way to consistently create a positive buzz. And while you may not feel that buzz happening every week the way you would, again, for like, let's say an AEW, let's just take a look at this year, what Impact Wrestling has done. Let's go back to Hard to Kill in January. They had, now I don't know the exact attendance, but they had a good house. I think it was at the Bomb Factory in Dallas, I think it was. Yeah. They had a good sized crowd. They crowned the first ever female world champion, which was a newsworthy event. We've already covered all the reasons why that didn't work out like it was supposed to. But they did that, right? They did that. That was a potentially huge move to create buzz that they did. And you could see the crowds growing, little by little, you could see the crowds growing. Then pandemic hit. All live sports and touring is shut down. Okay, somehow they still managed to create a buzz for an empty arena wrestling show in Slammiversary. The wrestling world was watching and talking about Slammiversary over the summer. They did that. You got to give these guys credits. They did that. And then fast forward to last night, we're taping this on a Wednesday. Oh, it's Thursday. We're taping this on a Thursday. And last night, Wednesday night here in the United States, on AEW, the, I think, second most watched wrestling television show in the country, they not only got a shout out for Impact Wrestling, but they got to announce Impact Wrestling on AEW's platform and direct AEW's audience to come watch Impact Wrestling on this Tuesday coming up in what has to be called the biggest episode of Impact that I can ever remember. This is probably the biggest episode of Impact in terms of expectations since the first episode of the Hogan Bischoff era. Like, this is huge. And there's a huge buzz created around this episode of Impact that's coming up. People are going to have to stop pretending like they don't know where to find Access Television. People are going to have to stop pretending like they don't have Twitch. Like, I've been saying this for the longest. Like, if WWE had a show on Twitch, it would do crazy numbers. If WWE had a show on Access TV, it would do crazy numbers, right? This is just more about the stain of the brand name of Impact Wrestling. But now we are going to see, right? We are going to see how powerful the buzz of AEW is, right? This is, I tweeted this, that this is going to be the unstoppable force, which is AEW's cult following, versus the immovable object, which is Impact's ratings. They're going to have to meet, and something's got to give. Something's got to give. And Don Callis and Scott D'Amore did that. It's time to give these guys their flowers. Like, again, as much as I criticize them, where's our guys and all of that, you got to take a step back and look at the body of work and what they are building. They have put Impact Wrestling into the rotation of the conversation of when you talk about wrestling shows. They did that. And so you got to give these guys their credit. They deserve their flowers on this one because they are making Impact Wrestling relevant. And that's what Impact Wrestling has not been. If we're going to be honest, Impact Wrestling has not been relevant since 2013. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't really been something to talk about, something that you have to see, having exclusive stars or whatever. But if you're an AEW fan, you want to know why Kenny Omega, why, right? You're going to have to tune in to Impact Wrestling on Tuesday night to get your answer. And Don Callis and Scott D'Amore leverage the relationships that they have around the wrestling business to create an opportunity for, like I said before, what is going to be the biggest, most talked about Impact Wrestling episode in years. And so congratulations to them. And now they just got to make sure that what they put on TV on Tuesday night gets people to stick around.
I take back everything bad I've ever said about Don Callis and Scott D'Amore, and I make fun of them every episode in one way or another. And it's not that I, at my core, dislike them. I just, I make fun of them. I make fun of Josh Matthews. I make fun of Scott and Don, but I take it all back because that doesn't mean I'm not going to still continue to clown them, because I am. But in a joking manner, though, I take it all back because they're making some things happen. Impact has not had this level of relevancy. And I say relevancy because when was the last time a company said Impact Wrestling on their program?
Right.
We hear people talk about the NWA, Ring of Honor, you know what I mean? Impact's never had that. You talk about WWE being an island, like Impact was on an island,
but in a bad way.
It was Gilligan's
Not by
Island.
choice.
Right.
Like Alcatraz.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was Alcatraz. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do a solo podcast on it later, what this really means for Impact from that perspective. And I kind of got a little bit of a rant here, though, that I want to go on. Just like Chris Bay's the ultimate finesser, I'm the ultimate micromanager. And for instance, I noticed that in the first two matches tonight, all 8 competitors were wearing black. They did not differentiate themselves from each other in any way. The Motor City Machine Guns versus Triple XL, all black and white. And then Jazz and Jordan Grace versus Renee Michelle and Killer Kelly, black.
Oh my God, you're right.
So I pick up on little things. That's just the way that I am. I get on my channel and on podcasts, and every time I open my mouth, I talk about marketing. I talk about commentary. I talk about the corny background music. I talk about the Impact Plus platform. I talk about lack of original content on YouTube. I talk about lack of wrestlers having any kind of momentum. I say all these things because I'm of the understanding, I believe in the snowball effect, good or bad. I do believe that little things matter, that small snowballs become big snowballs, good or bad. And you can either roll up that little piece of snow. It might be little, it might be insignificant. You could either roll it up in a good way, or you can roll it up in a bad way. I do think little things matter. And I say all these things, and now all of a sudden we're going to have... So AEW had almost 1 million viewers on this past episode. Live viewers. So if you add DVR, you could probably take a quarter of that. I would say we can expect 10 to 20% of those people to watch Impact live. There's going to be more DVRs and everything, but I would expect that. So we're going to have more eyes on the product. And if you knew that this was coming, I just feel there was more that they could have done up to this point to say, okay, who can we give? let's give as many people some real momentum as possible. You can't push at everyone at once, so some guys are going to lose. But it's almost feels like a bunch of 50-50 booking. If someone was to look, okay, who's Impact's champions right now? They would look up Rohit Raju, X Division champion. Let's see what he can do. Let's check out the last few videos of him on Impact. It's going to show him losing to Suicide. It's going to show him losing several non-title matches, losing to Jordan Grace. And then for those who may not know the North, let's look up the North. Let's see what they're doing. The We Nominal one pinned Ethan Page last week. I mean, you can look up anyone on the show that the ones who is okay. These guys are supposed to have the buzz. These are the names. These are the champions. You look at the last few episodes of Impact, you're going to find who shot Johnny Bravo. You're going to see a bunch of Johnny Swinger. I'm trying to think what else. All the silly shit they've been doing lately.
Right.
Then you got teams, Triple XL and Deaners, which we'll talk about. They had some improvement this episode, but up till this point, no buzz. I mean, no momentum. And then you go on their YouTube. There's no original content that helps us to get to know the wrestlers. And okay, let's see what this guy's about. There's no, hard-hitting interviews with them, or just like I mean, shit. AEW just released a new interview segment today on their YouTube channel. Maybe an interview is a played-out thing, but it's something to peel back the curtain, and maybe a little bit to just get to know people. There's so much when I nitpick all these little things, these little tiny snowballs. They're because I believe that they can become something bigger if you focus on the small things.
Right.
So, and then my other thing is the commentary. Get Matt Striker in there. Like if now you're gonna have all these people, step up the damn commentary. When I heard Madison Rain's voice this episode, and I always said I like her on commentary, I do. But when I heard her voice, it just made me a little bit sad inside, because I knew that Josh Matthews' side of the commentary was going to go back to jokes and not really calling moves and things like that. And it wasn't that bad, but he definitely took a step backwards compared to what we had with Stryker last week. And if you look on social media right now, and some people know that they got to watch Impact, there's people saying, "Oh, I can't stand Josh Matthews though."
Right.
I mean, there is a portion of the wrestling audience, and I'm not trying to like make fun of him, give him a hard time. And I've said he's not bad at what he does. I just say it's time for change. But there's a good portion of the wrestling audience who doesn't watch Impact because of him, that they really don't like his commentary.
That's crazy.
That's a fact. That's not just me like speculating. I mean, I see on social media, see on YouTube, I don't watch Impact because of Josh Matthews. I don't think he's that bad that you're going to sit here and not watch the show, but I can understand it. I can't watch MLW because I don't like the commentary. I watched Women of Wrestling when that was on, but at first I couldn't because the commentary was so cringeworthy. I eventually was like, dude, I kind of like the girls on the show, so I'm gonna get through it.
Right.
I could do with about 100% less of that commentary that they had on that show. So that's my point. Like I keep saying, hey, you gotta do all these little things, but you could have prepared for what was to come. And I'll use like my daughter for an example. Let me make sure she's not like lurking out there. All right. So I have a 17-year-old. She's the laziest human being I've ever come across in my life. When people tell me, oh, I know what you mean, I have a lazy teenager, I'm like, no. I get offended. I'm like, no, it's not what I deal with. I had a meeting with her principal and teachers last year, and I was like, I said, I guarantee I have the laziest teenager in the school. Like, we could have a tournament. Like, we didn't have March Madness this year. We could have March Madness, put all these against each other. Like, mine will be standing on top of the other. So the reason
she be sitting.
What was that?
Lazy.
Yeah.
She'd be sitting on top of the ladder, asking someone to cut it down for her.
Yeah, exactly. Sleeping on top of them. So I love my daughter. I love my kids more than anything. Trust me. But the point I'm trying to make is that she has recently told me I want to get a job. And I'm like, you do not display someone who would display the traits of someone who would succeed in a job, because I can't get you to do anything around here. There's not a single thing that you do without me asking you first, and you don't just turn it. It's not a light switch. You're not going to go to a job one day and all of a sudden I'm the hardest worker there. Like, it just doesn't work. You might be motivated for the first couple of weeks, especially because money is a motivator, but you can't just flip on the light switch. Like, it has to be, you have to build those traits over time. And if you take care of the little things, and I don't got to ask you to do the most minute things around the house, then you're building towards something. I had a buddy in the military tell me one time, if I can't, he wasn't directing it at me, he was saying it, but he was saying, if you can't accomplish the small tasks, how can I possibly expect you to do something bigger? So I say all that because I feel like now they got to flip a light switch on. The show's been good. I'm not saying it's like horrible, but there's so many things they could have improved that aren't that difficult to improve. And now, oh my God, we're gonna get all these extra viewers. Oh crap, we gotta make some people matter all of a sudden. And like, oh crap, we gotta get these champions some steam and some momentum. So I'm not knocking every single thing that they do, but there's just, I was shocked to hear that this AEW thing was happening, because there's been nothing happening over the last couple of weeks that makes me, that I would tell someone, hey, you got to check out Impact. You know what I mean? To me, I was it's the home stretch. It's the end of the year. They're just kind of phoning it in a little bit. It's not like they're just doing these like crazy angles. There's a couple good things they're doing, but I just think there's a lot of catch up they need to do very quickly. So that's my whole point. I know I kind of went on and on about that, but
I think you're right in terms of, like, I don't know if there's anything going on that will make me say, yo, you gotta see this on Impact right now. I mean, this stuff is decent, like, if you're already watching it, but right, like I wouldn't grab somebody and be like, yo, you gotta see the slow build to this Rich Swann Moose match. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that, like, I'm interested in it, you know what I mean? But I'm not sure that I would grab somebody and be like, yo, this is what you need to see. You're totally right about that.
There was a quote from
I would say this though. Like, if somebody was watching, if somebody was just happened to be watching this show, like, and then they caught that Motor City Machine Guns Triple XL match, that was a good match.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, that was a good match. Like, there's a lot of good wrestling on the show. So if you like good wrestling, then you can usually depend on Impact for some good wrestling.
Yeah. There was a quote I saw, and I'm not trying to get all political by any stretch, but there was a quote from Obama that I saw on Facebook yesterday. And I'm paraphrasing because I can't put words together like him, definitely. But so I'm totally paraphrasing. But he was talking about making a change and making a difference. And he says, you have to decide, am I going to get out there and do this? Am I going to make a difference? Or am I just going to appease the people who already agree with me? You know, so I've kind of said that too. Like, there's times where I watch a show that I feel like they're just trying to entertain the people who already watch the show, but they're not creating something that, a casual fan would, oh shit, yeah, I want to see what they're doing right now. Like, I talk about quite a bit that in the Destination America era, I wasn't watching because I didn't get the channel. But EC3 was doing so much that I was hearing about, that I was like, man, I have to check out these clips. And when Slammiversary and Bound for Glory come around, I make sure I order the pay-per-view because I wanted to see what EC3 was doing. Like, he was keeping me engaged in what they were doing, even though I wasn't watching the show, because there was a buzz he was creating. Yeah. But I think that's enough of all that. So we're gonna definitely throughout the rest of the month we're gonna keep talking this AEW stuff and see see what happens. We hope that it goes a good direction and a positive direction for Impact, and that it does help them. And there are some AEW fans online are being little fucks saying that I'm still not going to watch Impact. It's going to happen, but I'm also on the flip side seeing some people that are like, okay, well, what channel is it on? You know, like there's some people who are going to watch it. You know, it's just a numbers game. There are going to be more people. There have been times where Impact has drawn in people, whether it was Final Deletion, whether it was Slammiversary, they've drawn in those extra viewers, but then they lose them. They don't have a way to capitalize and keep them. And this was the episode to do it on, because this episode of AEW was the best promoted, marketed show they had done all year.
True.
And it had 200,000 more viewers than last week's show. So they really knocked it out the park. And so this was the episode to get involved with. This is the biggest match of the year. They said it was the biggest match of the year. They hyped the shit out of it. And yeah, so good things coming. Let's hope so. I've been told cool shit is coming. That is the only quote I was given directly from Impact. Cool shit is coming. Stand by. So I definitely can't wait. So I think that's it. We're going to get into this episode of Impact. I like this episode, dude, for various reasons. And a lot of it was the small details that I'm always saying they miss. I feel like this episode, they hit on them. So I was really happy about it. But what's the first thing you got on your mind from this actual episode?
First thing on my mind from this show was the Triple XL versus Motor City Machine Guns match that I previously referenced as being a good match. It was a good match and the right team won, but I would have did it a little bit differently. I think that this match was a little too even Steven. I thought that with Triple XL being the new guys and, you know, the guys who you perceive will be here more long term, I thought the Triple XL should have been made to look stronger. I would have had them kind of dominate this match more and maybe had MCMG just rally at the end to pull out the victory. I thought by having this match being so even that you didn't take advantage of making Triple XL look as good as you could have. Now, I thought that they did do a good job of recovering by, after the segment, having Triple XL beat up Tommy Dreamer in the hallway after that, because you went back to making him look strong, making him look mean. But again, right team won. I would have did it differently. What you got?
So I'm gonna that kind of leads me into to my first point. But speaking of tag team wrestling, because we're probably not going to talk about the knockouts tonight. One point I want to make: my least favorite move in the history of wrestling is that sit out face buster.
Oh my God, yo, as soon as you said that, I thought of it.
I hate that move with passion. The Brie Buster or whatever, the Bella Buster, X-Pac. I hate that move. It doesn't look like it hurts, but somehow it's pinned numerous superstars in the world of wrestling. That move sucks so bad. And the person, I mean, Renee Michelle had to sell the shit out of it. And it was just like, I felt bad for her that she had to sell that move. But the first thing I kind of want to talk about, bring it up with Triple XL, though, that you were saying, you know, it's great that they came around, you know, because we talked about this last week. I was like, okay, he shot Johnny Bravo. He's part of a comedy segment. How the hell are we supposed to take him serious all of a sudden in this match? You know, they said some stupid shit on commentary a little bit about, he should be in jail for murder, but he should be, you know, at least they said it. And then, as you said, you know, they go backstage and it looked like they were going comedy for a second. I thought the acting that Larry D and AC Romero did was pretty good. I'm a Larry D guy. Like, I really like him. But I do like Triple XL, and I think they have one of the best theme songs in the company. But they got serious again. So what I liked about this episode, there was a lot of continuity. There was a lot of things that made sense, and real small details they paid attention to. So, you know, what do I mean by small details? When Eddie Edwards got taken out last week, I could have swore on the body of Renee Michelle that Alicia was not going to acknowledge that. I was like, she is going to do something with Caleb with a K and with Tennille Dashwood. And, you know, I'm always saying, oh, they just make her Eddie's wife. And then all of a sudden she's not Eddie's wife. So I was thinking in my head, I mean, she's still his wife, but that's not her angle she's a part of. So in my head, I'm like, okay, she's kind of doing this little heel turn. she's probably not even going to acknowledge. And when they said Eddie Edwards is home recovering, I was like, okay, so his wife's not with him. But then what happened? She was in this angle with Tenille. She was looking around the corner. She was visibly nervous. They were keeping the Tenille and Caleb with a K gimmick going with Alicia a little bit without getting too far off. And then Sammy shows up and she attacks him. And I was like, man, I can't believe they actually did it, you know? And the way they just tied in the Who Shot Bravo, you know, just to go back to what I said, they tied it back in with you know, making it relevant to the episode without focusing on it too much. I don't know what's up with Johnny Bravo having a Band-Aid on the neck when he was shot on the chest, but, you know, here nor there. You know, and they had a little comedy in there with him saying, no, you know, over Tommy Dreamer, and he had the police shirt and all that. Like, the segment was funny. I thought with Triple XL what they did was funny, but then they brought it back to seriousness, and now Triple XL can move on, because I was saying, dude, where does Triple XL go from here after Wrestle House? I was like, I don't know if they're going to get him back. So they did. Another thing was the Deaners. We kept saying, wow, Cody Deaner would rather wrestle Johnny Swinger and get his revenge on Johnny Swinger than Eric Young, who's attacked him twice, and Joe Doering, who's attacked him twice. And you know, they sure as hell came around to it, and it made sense. Like,
yeah,
you know, what we said was, you know, they always come out during the match that means absolutely nothing. And that's the first thing I thought when this match kicked off. Here they come. I was like, okay, this is the match that means nothing. So here they come out. But that was part of the freaking storyline in a sense, where Deaner was like, dude, he thinks I'm a joke. He thinks I'm a nobody. You know, and it gave the Deaners something to do. It gave Cody Deaner something to do that's meaningful. That's just not, you know, him and Jake are funny. I talk about the difference between bad humor and people who are legitimately funny. They're legitimately funny. But now Cody Deaner has something meaningful to do with one of the main eventers. So I was really happy about that. So I just thought there was really good continuity from last week into this week. Little things just made sense. They checked the boxes, no matter how small they were. So this was just I'm losing my voice here for a second. Excuse me. This was just a fun episode for me.
I'll take it while you're choking to death.
Yeah, take it. Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to your boy, my boy, Louis Carlin's boy, everybody's boy, Rohit, Raju, the Desi Hitman. Okay, he is turning a corner. His character is turning a corner. He had a match on Impact this week against Crazy Steve, in which he was, wait for it, expected to win like the champion should be. And as the defending champion, yes, there was some good back and forth. They put together a good match, but he actually won. Nice heel win. And I'm like, listen, man, I like it. Rohit is turning a corner to a point where he's not weaseling his way into keeping the title. He's becoming more of a legit champion, somebody who you expect to go in and defend their title. So congrats to Rohit. Keep it going. BQ, what you got?
All right. Yeah, totally agreed on that. Here's a question I have. How are they deciding who gets title shots around here? So if you look at this, Crazy Steve got a title shot. He wrestled last week under the suicide mask. So kind of a bullshit victory, whatever. Wasn't even technically him, but he earned himself an X Division title shot. And then you look at the North angle, Ethan Page is trying to earn a rematch for the tag team championships. It's like they really pick and choose who's going to get a random title shot, who's going to get a contractually obligated rematch. If you told a little story of like, hey, if you're only a champion for less than 30 days, less than 60 days, you don't get an automatic rematch. Something that just make it make sense. But they've done this over the years. The random title shots they've pulled back on, because you remember, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years. I mean, just the most random ass people would get title shots that didn't earn them whatsoever.
Right.
So we got Rohit. He wrestles Crazy Steve. He somehow earned a title shot. But Ethan Page cannot get a rematch. These are the longest reigning tag team champions ever, and granted, this second title run was kind of BS, but they really have to earn a rematch. Like, are you serious? And then we got Chris Bay, who lost in the main event, and he somehow has a world title match at Final Resolution.
Right.
So
doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense. Like, I get it. He took out Rich Swann after, but it was Rich Swann like, I'll show you. I'm going to put up the Impact World title against you and show you who's boss around here. That's what I just don't get. And then even with that, Chris Bay, I talk about momentum all the time. Like, oh, he's doing the Super J Cup, the Super Bay Cup, but he's lost 2 of the 3 matches since they've announced that. He loses this match to Willie Mack, who's not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, granted, okay, they're probably building some kind of angle. We're going to get some Moose and, Chris Bay against Swan and Mack, which would be cool. You know, I get it, but man, it's just no momentum for Chris Bay whatsoever. And that's just crazy to me. And now he's going to wrestle the Super J Cup the same night as Final Resolution. So I don't know I don't watch New Japan. From my understand, you have to watch it at like 3 a.m. or something if you're watching stuff live. But it's just weird that they would run an episode at the same time. I think Lewis said it's only Super J Cup's only an hour difference between that and Impact show. So they're doing it at the same time. He's going to wrestle both events, and he can't win the world title. I mean, because then if he loses at the Super J Cup, which he most likely will, then it devalues the Impact title. You know, so but I just, Chris Bay's one of the rising stars here, and there's just oh my gosh, just get this guy in a roll, get someone on a roll. That's it.
All right. So my final point about this show is that this main event scene is looking real black right now. And I'm here for it, baby. If you take a look, BQ passed over some of that SARS. If you take a look at the main event scene that ended the show this week, you had Rich Swann, your world champion, going against Chris Bay. Rich Swann come out and won. Willie Mack was against Chris Bay, but Willie Mack's not in the world title picture. We're not even going to pretend that's the thing. But you had Rich Swann being attacked by Moose. They're teasing up the Rich Swann Moose feud. And then the current challenger, Chris Bay, who, as you already mentioned, is going to be main eventing Final Resolution against Rich Swann. And it's all black. It's all beautiful, baby. I love to see it. Okay, I love to see it. And by the way, Chris Bay, he's got superstar written all over him, man. He really, really does. Yeah. Like, he has just a great charisma that not a lot of people have, and he's bound for big, big things. But if you watch wrestling, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Chris Bay has superstar written all over him. Maybe it'll be an Impact, maybe it won't, but it will happen. It's already happening. This dude jumps off the camera anytime he's on. And then looking at Moose is in the best shape of his wrestling career. I've never seen Moose look so chiseled. He was in that ring on Impact. He was, had on his slacks and his slip-ons. And I mean, this dude looks like he's cut out of stone, man. Like, this dude, he looks in phenomenal shape. He looks like a true, real, big-time wrestling star. So, I mean, look, the Impact main event scene is looking real good. It's looking real brown. It's looking real beautiful. And I'm loving it, baby. I'm loving it. Like, give these guys a chance based off the merit of their talent. Like I jokingly said earlier, you would only see something like this in WWE in February. Okay, so that's Black History Month for those around the world who are listening to the show. And if you want a class on race, just look up anything about America and anything. But yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I love to see it. Let these dudes shine. These guys are all great and talented, and it really shouldn't matter that they're all black, but it does. And and it's dope to see.
It's cool to see because we don't. If you watch WWE, I guess. From what I understand, they're doing a little better, but for years it was always like, everyone was white. I've made it no secret that I'm a big fan of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, and the biggest criticism, that's just something you do when you're in a relationship. I don't know what to tell you. It's just a show you watch sometimes. But anyway, the biggest criticism of the show for a long time was that all the leads were white. They were white. They were white. They were white. A couple years ago, we had a first black bachelorette. We have a black bachelorette right now, and the next bachelor is black. So, it's just a matter of just, being progressive, doing something different. People were very used to.
I think my daughter might be out of bed. We got to pause for a second. Sorry.
So it's just a matter of giving it some new flavor, and then we're most likely going to see Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan in the main event, the finals of this thing. Maybe might even win this thing. I'm pretty sure they're going to be in the finals because they're the only ones that have like a backstage angle going on, and usually that's wrestling companies usually telegraph who's going to be in the finals or who's going to win something depending on what the side angles are they got going. So it's not really tag team related, but they're doing the stupid shit with Falaba in the back.
Right.
But I do got to say Tasha Steelz was funny saying, whose uncle is this? Hilarious. And my other funny part of the show was Sami Callihan saying, "What do you want, dumbass?" to Scott D'Amore. Before I get into my final point, though, because you mentioned this is a big episode for Impact, and I think there's going to be probably up to 200,000 more live viewers for this episode. We can't expect too much out of Access TV, but next week's card, they've got Chris Sabin versus Josh Alexander, which should be very good. Deanna and Kimberly versus Taya and Rosemary. So that's probably the best possible women's knockouts tag match they could have.
True.
So definitely some good planning there. Myers versus TJP, which I think we have interest in because we like Brian Myers.
Right.
Then Cody Deaner versus Eric Young. So that's going to be good too because we're going to see Cody Deaner actually have some attitude to him, and this is going to be good. So my last point I want to talk about before we answer some questions is the Su Yung stuff. I think is the coolest thing they got going on right now. I thought what they did last week was phenomenal. I watched that so many times. I can't say enough good things about it. This week, I can't say I liked it quite as much because I was kind of expecting some other appearance by Susie, but the Undead Bridesmaids came down, which is weird because they're usually on the side of Su Yung. So
right, I thought that was weird too.
Yeah, that was
what they say. These hoes ain't loyal.
What's that? Oh,
these hoes ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal.
Definitely ain't loyal. So the whole segment was a little weird and it was long. Like even Father James Mitchell's music seemed like it was playing forever. I was like, okay, let's get to the point. What is going to happen here? But I've always commended Impact on finding a way to keep Su Yung relevant, and even Rosemary to an extent. But Rosemary's been off and on with injuries, to where Su Yung has been there, and if you think of that character on WWE, like it would have got stale a long time ago, and they have found a way to keep her fresh and engaging, and I'm really happy with it. I hope that we get a match between her and Abaddon on AEW because she has a very similar gimmick because she's Undead Bridesmaid and then she's like the dead living person or some shit like that. She's a little creepier than Su Yung though. But
yeah, no, her presentation is definitely really creepy, really gross, pretty gross. Definitely.
Yeah. But the Su Yung stuff is really good, and even though we've already had 2 matches between her and Deanna, it's like wrestle again. That's cool. I'm just enjoying this and where it's going to go, and I do think it's going to go to an Undead Realm. I mean, you got to do Sue and Susie. You can do it. It's all it's editing. Like you can make that work. I mean, think of the final deletion stuff. Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy were coming out as different characters and all that. Like it's very doable. So, I hope that's where they're going with it. But this is one of the best parts of the show for me. The best gimmick, it still stays Tenille, especially since they added Alicia. But as far as the best part of the show that I just think is just badass, it's just the Su Yung stuff. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, Su Yung stuff's been good. I've been a fan of that stuff too. I think and I'm actually interested to see where it goes. Like, to be honest with you, what they were doing with Su Yung and Rosemary before just got a little boring to me. It got a little weird to me. And like you mentioned, the potential of Su Yung versus Abaddon because they have similar gimmicks. I'm not that much of a fan of putting the similar gimmicks together because it creates these weird questions of who is what and all this other stuff. Like if you put the zombie and the undead bride, well, if you're an undead bride, doesn't that make you like a zombie bride? Like, I mean, so I don't know. To me, like it's weird if you put the zombie in there with somebody who's not a zombie.
Yeah.
My daughter's up again. Oh, God. Sorry.
All right. So all that being said, let's get in some questions in the YouTube comments, and then we'll send this thing home. So what do you got?
All right. So first of all, once again, thank you guys so much for sending in your comments. I've noticed that the comment section is growing each and every week. So keep coming with the questions, keep coming with the comments. Drop your name and where you're from, and we'll give you shout outs. And we'll try to answer as many questions as possible each and every week. So thank y'all, and keep the questions coming. All right, here we go. This one is from Vonville. Vonville says, I'm surprised you both picked Mike Bennett when we were talking about, what was the question we were responding to? What star we want to come back to Impact?
Yeah, and get a title run.
Yeah. All right. So Vonville said, I'm surprised you both picked Mike Bennett. He's never impressed me when being in Impact or WWE. To me, Maria has all the star power, and Mike is just along with her to sign with the company. He just doesn't have that look all the way down to his ring gear to hold a major title. He's a low mid-carder at best. What you got?
Well, I actually touched on that last week when I said when he debuted on Pop TV and he had the derby hat and the suit and the glasses, it was like, I hate saying this word, but he had like swag to him. And as time passed on, he started wearing these bright colors, flashy jackets, the pineapples and the man bun. So yeah, like the look started escaping him. He was probably happy with how he was just being him. You know what I mean? But the first gimmick that he showed up with, where he was kind of a dick, like walked in on the Feasted Fire briefcase reveal and making fun of everyone, like that worked. And then with Maria, yeah, Mike Bennett by himself probably wasn't all that, but that's why he had Maria. Like, like I used to always say with OVE, I was like, man, they're missing a chick, and because I think sometimes that element can elevate a gimmick or elevate a wrestler, just having a chick. I mean, obviously you gotta creatively handle them the right way, but it's like, I've always said I really like the Dark Order in AEW. Like if they didn't have Anna Jay as part of it, I probably wouldn't look at them the same, because it's just different. Like they added a chick to it, and it gives a different dynamic, and the presentation comes off a little bit different, So yeah, Maria was part of it. She was part of why it would have worked for Mike Bennett to be champion. If it was just him out there by himself, yeah, he would just probably be another wrestler. But how many wrestlers when we were growing up did we look at like, man, they were so much better when they had a manager and had a mouthpiece, or you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I do get that argument, but she's just part of the package. She's his real life wife, so
and she's just part of the package. Like let's not like downplay the significance of Maria. Like Maria's dope, man. Like she's a big important part of that act. And like, first of all, she's gorgeous. So like like she and she she accentuates all of her assets. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like she but that's a big part of the act. And if you see the way they would do matches in New Japan or in ROH, like she makes herself part of the match. You know what I mean? Like she would interfere and always tease taking a bump, but that would always lead to him like re-getting the advantage in the match. But it was done so well. And it was just, listen, man, to me, it was an act that was ready for prime time and just waiting for the opportunity to be featured more prominently. To me, like that's that's a championship act. I might have said this last week, but like if you watch WWE TV, you know, one of the major indicators that a champion is going to have a long title run is when he gets a goon. You know what I mean? Like Maria is Mike's goon. You know what I mean? Like she's not only she is goon, she's his mouthpiece. You know what I mean? Because she could talk. She was doing a great job when they had her doing her, what does she call it? Like the lady committee or something like that.
Lady squad, I think.
Yeah, it's something like that. But that was a lot of fun too. That basically that created the Alley character that everybody loved. So, like, you know, listen, if you don't like Mike and Maria, that's on you because they were a quality act. You know what I mean? Now, listen, Mike Bennett never quite fulfilled his potential, but yeah, I mean, I think he could. I think given the opportunity, I think that act is a main event act. All right. So next question. This one comes from Monster Pro Wrestling. Monster Pro Wrestling says, glad to see Impact doing what it can to keep audiences engaged when live shows are so problematic right now. It's inspirational to a small indie company like us because live shows are our lifeblood and we are doing what we can to keep our audience engaged too. What you got?
So that's more of a statement, if anything, but I think they've done well with what they have to work with, you know. But yeah, if they can pull it off and they can do empty arena wrestling, then yeah, you know, I would see a smaller company looking up to them, be like, well, if Impact can pull it off, we can as well. You know, but when I watch the empty arena show with Impact, you know, it just makes me want to hear some people in the crowd. You know, I think it's just time to figure something out to put your own spin on it. But I don't know. I don't have too much to
really no, so for me, I think first of all, Monster Pro Wrestling, like thank you so much for, you know, being a part of the Impact Lounge and you know and you know being just participating in our show and in the conversation. As far as like, you know, Impact doing what they can to keep their show interesting, even though it's an empty arena show, I totally agree with that. And I think, you know, this is what we were saying last week. I think by adding all the new faces, it just adds an element of what are we going to see next, which is if there's something interesting that you're looking for, it takes away from the distraction of like seeing a match between, you know, two new characters or one new character and one character you're used to seeing. You get to focus on what's this new character doing, as opposed to seeing a match between two acts that you already know, where you want to hear the crowd ooh and ah and echo your sentiments, right? Whereas when you're watching a new act, you're more thinking about what do I know, what do I need to know about these new faces on my TV. So I think, yeah, it's definitely a creative way for Impact to keep their show fresh by adding some new faces. And, you know, based on what we talked about, there's even more faces or even more new faces coming on, or at least one important new face coming on this Tuesday. So, yeah, thanks for the comment. All right. The J-Rock Freak says, when it comes to Joe Doring, I think the Impact thought that their fan base was more familiar with All Japan than a lot of us actually are. So right now, he's just feeling like a random henchman for EY. What you got?
Yeah, dude, he definitely feels random because more often than not, when Impact makes some kind of big reveal, it's someone we know from somewhere else, right, that we definitely know from somewhere else. It's really rare in wrestling that you just see this random dude come out and you're like, whoa, who's this? You know? And it hasn't been a strong point of Impact to introduce new faces that are like brand new faces. I mean, I wasn't familiar with Ace Austin. Admittingly, I wasn't familiar with Chris Bay. So I'm not going to say that they're completely lost. I just think that isn't their strong point. They've struggled with the knockouts big time, with the exception of Kiera Hogan. When they bring someone in that's an unknown, like they stay on that level. Like they've never been able to just, you know, lift that person up. And it kind of brings me to something that I was thinking about yesterday, and I was looking for a reason to bring this up. if I would have gone back to Slammiversary when they were like teasing all these names, you're going to see all these dudes show up. I would have taken that opportunity to sprinkle throughout the Slammiversary show some people we haven't seen before, or some little lesser known indie talents.
Yeah,
because people would have still, because of what we knew what was happening, that we were getting these new bigger faces, even to get smaller names or people we didn't know before, like people would have got excited over that. Like even if Joe Doering would have came out with Eric Young when he showed up at Slammiversary, and he was, this guy was behind him, like, whoa, Eric Young, and who is he bringing with him?
Yeah.
So I would have taken that pay-per-view and found a way to just sprinkle some other people throughout the show that were lesser names, that we would still be intrigued about. I've used this example. I haven't used it in a while. When this was 2015, Impact announced we're signing 5 new wrestlers or whatever, and it was Ali, Braxton Sutter, Marche Rocket, and the Tribunal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the individual names there, with the exception of Ali, because people knew her as Cherry Bomb and they liked her a lot. If you were just like, hey, Marche Rocket's showing up, Braxton Sutter showing up, who?
Right.
I mean, I already familiar with them, but as a sum, as, hey, we've got these 5 new names showing up, it had you curious with like, okay, I'm waiting for the next person to show up on the screen and see what they can do. It's right. Just, that goes back to what I always say about marketing and presentation, so I think there's just, there's probably some more creative ways that they could start bringing in new names. If you think of this Gut Check show that Jackson Stone won, Gut Check was almost a year ago, and we haven't seen him on the screen because they probably have no idea how to bring him out. So I'm going off on a side note a little bit, but to kind of bring it back to the Joe Doering thing, like, yeah, I think they probably thought we were more familiar with who he was, but it's actually kind of cool that we're not at the same time, because then we're getting to know someone without a preconceived notion about him.
True. Very true. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Getting to know somebody without a preconceived notion of them. And to me, that's even better, right? That's even better, because I certainly don't know anything about All Japan. I'm not familiar with the audience, but yeah, I don't care. Like, this is the conversation. To me, I think bringing in people and relying on their previous reputation is a horrible idea, because all of your audience is almost never going to have either seen or have liked the talent wherever they were previously. So, like, when you bring a talent in, you should be looking at building them from scratch. Don't be looking at them working off the buzz they got from being a free agent. Look at building them from scratch. To use WWE as an example, right? When Steve Austin left WCW, he showed up in ECW as the WCW castoff, right? And in so doing that, he ended up finding his voice where, but when he showed up in WWE, he was the ringmaster who eventually became Stone Cold Steve Austin. When he got to WWF, WWE, whatever, they were like, yo, no, this is a seasoned veteran, but we're going to mold him into something that our audience is going to know as being original. And I think, to me, if you are pulling somebody off WWE TV to put on Impact, there's little to no shot that the Impact audience has no idea who they are. Now, if you're pulling somebody from All Japan, I never watched the damn All Japan show. So that's a new talent to me, right?
I actually thought they were I thought they went out of business, actually.
Right. So there you go. So, I mean, Joe Doering, he's new to me, but whatever. I don't care. All right. Luke Avery says, once they're able to tour and have fans, where do you think Impact Wrestling will draw the most fans?
It's a good question. The 2 places that come to mind in the United States for me is, because I paid attention to the Impact Plus and Twitch show crowds. I shouldn't say Twitch because those shows were always dead, but Impact Plus, they did, what was it called? No Surrender, maybe, or something. It was in Ohio, with Sami Callihan's promotion.
Mm.
And Impact has a strange amount of wrestlers from Ohio on their roster.
Right.
You know, Madison Rain, you know, all of OVE, obviously, Ace Austin, the Rascals were at the time. And there was, I think, one or two others, but I mean, they had a strange amount. Oh, Jessica Havoc. So I would imagine Nevaeh probably as well, but no, she wasn't with the roster at the time. Should have been, but she wasn't. So I remember that show having a really strong, engaged fan base. Now there was the way that show was set up is there was some fans sitting like on the stage as we were watching the ring, and they were all sitting on their hands. But the ones that were behind the screen, they were really, really loud and engaged. And I was like, man, Ohio would be a great place to film. Ohio gets a bad rap, dude. I've been to Ohio a few times, and I love Ohio, so I don't know why people give it such a hard time. The other place that comes out to mind to me is San Antonio, because they did Bash at the Brewery too there, and the fan base was engaged. They knew who the wrestlers were. You know what I mean? Sometimes Impact will have a crowd there, but you're not really sure if they're Impact fans or just wrestling fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I went to the Impact and versus Lucha Underground show, which I regret to this day. And everyone's like, oh, well, they had 2,000 people there. Dude, I can tell you as someone there that probably 70% of the people were there to watch Lucha Underground and didn't know who a lot of the Impact people were. So I hate that was just a horrible experience for me, and I wish I never went to that show because the fans were really disrespectful at that show. So really they learned their lesson from doing a versus show. Anyway, so that stands out to me though, San Antonio and Ohio as far as the United States. I would love to see them go back to Atlanta because that audience sounded really good on TV. They only did the one taping. They did that TNA show where the fans were all sitting on their hands for that, but the Impact episodes, they sounded pretty good on it. So those are three that come to mind offhand.
Yeah. So I love that idea. You know, Atlanta was a wrestling hotbed. Obviously, that was considered the home base for WCW for a long time. And so, you know, for me, the number one place where I know they can draw a crowd is St. Clair College in Windsor. They draw a really good crowd there all the time. They know the product. And you know, they're into it. They're a good fan base. So that'd probably be the first place I go do a set of tapings. The next places I go would be New York City. And again, you know, I believe that I've heard it said that it's like prohibitively expensive to tape television in New York City, but they always draw good crowds and the shows look good and they have a good vibe, a good feel to them. You know, it sucks when you try to keep somebody there to film 3 episodes of Impact. You know, by the time you get to the end, the crowd's just dead. But listen, to me, I just think that, you know, New York City crowd is tough to beat, man. New York City crowd is tough to beat, and they've done really well in Chicago for the, you know, things they've taken and for all the places that they call Chicago, right? Like they, you know, they've done pretty well as far as crowds they've gotten there. And if I had to take one more place, I thought they did pretty well at the fairgrounds in Nashville.
Yes,
when they taped there for Homecoming, and they did a couple of episodes of Impact there. So I think, you know, they've actually done a really good job creating some buzz lately. And I'm in the belief that when they get a chance to hit the road again, I think we'll see, you know, maybe not significant, but I think we'll see increased crowds for Impact Wrestling because they're building, the momentum's building, and that's really what matters.
I do think the crowds are going to be bigger because even though we might say, oh, the Good Brothers aren't really moving the needle right now, and they do have some bigger names part of the company right now. It's a couple, but I mean, they have a couple of people that I think have a little more drawing power. You know, even at the Impact Zone in Orlando when Aaron Stevens showed up, or Aaron Rex, I mean, that was one of their biggest crowds in a long time for the, you know, for one of those episodes, because there are some people who are going to bring people in. That's just going to happen.
I think that'll be a great
but
gauge of if these people really do have drawing power. Like, wrestling fans who have been reading dirt sheets for years love to talk about how well somebody can draw. They don't know a damn whether or not somebody can draw or not from, they don't, as well as they can draw a damn picture. But this will be a true gauge of if people can draw. When Impact goes back out on the road with their roster, can you draw? Do people want to come out of their house, go in their pocket, and pull money out and pay to see you? That's going to be a true gauge of this roster. And honestly, I think, if you're Impact, go towards some sort of pay system where people get paid to draw. You know what I mean? Like get the most out of these performers. And I think that'd probably be best for the company all around. All right, here we go.
I want to throw real quick. They did the Motown Showdown. I actually liked I guess it was in Detroit. I thought that crowd looked okay too. I would stay out of Vegas.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say that. I plan on moving to Vegas in a couple of years.
Oh, nice.
Be closer to home. So I wouldn't say totally stay away, but that's not a venue I'd stick with right now. But,
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Richard Cartledge says it's extremely difficult to be an Impact fan when everyone I want to get behind / hate as a heel leaves for somewhere else. Losing Paige and Taya would be absolutely crushing for Impact. If they do go, I will have trouble finding a reason to keep watching. What you got?
I don't think any departures would ever make me stop watching, but those would be major losses. Taya is just a matter of time, but she would be a major loss because she's one of the big stars of that Knockouts division, and it would be tough for someone to take her place. For Ethan Page, I think Josh Alexander would survive by himself, but it would be tough to replace the North. When we're talking about this AEW crossover stuff and they're calling out tag teams, so it seems the AEW wrestlers are into this, which is good. They were calling out, Motor City Machine Guns, the North, the Good Brothers, like that was it. But still, those are three big names teams. Like to get rid of the North would hurt him quite a bit. So you talked about this before. We got to get out of our heads that this is the top destination for wrestlers to come to, or even the second or even the third sometimes. It's okay that some people make quick stops, but if you think about it, there's a big difference between someone leaving when their contract is up compared to 2-3 years ago, Laurel Van Ness asking for her release while she's the Knockouts champion. And I'm trying to think, there were several other, Killer Cross only in the company for not that long, and then he wants out. Austin Aries came and he was gone right away. Alberto Patron showed up and he was gone, and then showed up and then he was gone. And, they were making changes for these matches at the pay-per-views, making changes to the cards on the fly because someone didn't show up or someone got fired the night before. There was, Taryn Terrell when they brought her back, and all of a sudden she was gone the next set of tapings. And, I spoke to her personally on that, and she said, they felt like I couldn't get into Canada, so they just released me. And she was like, they don't even film in Canada all the time. They just did that one set of tapings, and they were right back in the States after that.
Wow.
And it was like, if you knew you were going to film in Canada, why'd you put her in the main event of the match? So, and I remember being furious because I'd been waiting years for her to return. But just my point is, there's a difference between someone leaving because they're like, if Moose leaves right now, I mean, Moose has been here for like 4 years, so that's different. If he leaves, of course, I don't want him to go, but why would he not go do something else?
Right.
We're far removed from the guys showing up for a set of tapings, and they got Hanaya the Huntress showing up and gone the next set of tapings. Even smaller names, they signed MJ Jenkins and Ava Story, and they lasted 3 sets of tapings and they were gone. It's like, why are you even bringing these people on to begin with?
Right.
we're far removed from that time. So although I can understand the point, I don't watch the product now and think it's a revolving door.
Yeah, I'm going to totally disagree with this point. Just because, listen, you got to separate your wrestling fandom from like real life at some point. And look, Ethan Page and Taya are both they're good performers, really good performers, and they can be doing a lot. And honestly, they deserve to get paid, man. These people got families. You know what I mean? Like as a human, you should want to make the most money you can make so you can live your best life. And you should want other people to make the most money they can make, as long as they're not hurting anybody, to live their best life. And so if you like these performers, if you appreciate what they have done to entertain you, then you should want them to go get paid, man. Go get paid. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of wrestlers who were in prominent roles in Impact and took a contract to go to a bigger, richer company, and they aren't doing much on TV now. But you know what? Be happy for them, because that direct deposit is hitting each and every week, and it feels good. Okay, let them live. Let them live. Sometimes you got to think of these wrestlers as people. They're people too. You know what I mean? They're people with bills to pay. I've seen like if you follow like like Maria Kanellis on Instagram, she posts like pictures of their nice house and stuff like that. And like, they wasn't going to be making money like that in Impact. You know what I mean? So, they were in WWE doing nothing, trying their hardest to get on TV, doing ridiculous stuff when they were on TV, but they're getting paid very well, I'm sure. Especially when AEW was popping up and WWE was re-signing everybody just to keep them off AEW television. People was getting paid. That was like a boom period. It was like the .com boom for stocks.
Yeah.
So listen, I love Taya in every possible way. But look, man, she's a great talent. She deserves to perform on the biggest stages. She really does. Ethan Page, very talented. I enjoy his vlogs. I've been very impressed watching him transform his physique. And listen, he's a great talent, man. He's a great talent. He deserves to perform on big platforms, on big stages. And look, that's up to Impact to turn Impact into a place where people want to stay, where they can make a living, where they can, put some money aside for their kids and own their homes and, pay for insurance. Like this is real adult grown up shit. You know what I mean? That people got to do. You know what I mean? People ain't trying to be out here working at the mall if you're on Impact TV. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, like, listen, like you got, I remember a story years ago about, God, what was it? Taylor Wilde, who, the story was like she quit Impact because a fan recognized her at her day job. You know what I mean? Like, and to me, if you're on a worldwide television show, that should never be the case, man. That's almost like these college athletes, right? It's like if you playing basketball or football or baseball for some big university and they're, making hundreds of millions of dollars from a TV contract that you are providing the entertainment for, you shouldn't be, out here, graduating if you don't make the pros, trying to figure out how you're going to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like you should have some money in your pocket for all that money you producing. And so, I said all that just to say, look, man, these people got to get paid, man. If Impact ain't going to pay them, then I want them to get paid wherever they can. So,
yeah. And here's another angle to look at it. I've kind of gotten these arguments with people online. The WWE fans are like, "Oh, thanks for that." Back when they were doing shit, thanks for Bobby Roode and Eric Young and these guys. And I'm just like, yo, and those guys are most likely, obviously, Eric Young is back, but those guys are probably going to stay there forever now, well past their prime, and they're going to be stale because there's not really a place to go up. You can't go up from WWE, for instance. So when someone goes there, like, I wouldn't feel like watching that show that I'm ever going to get a fresh product. When I stopped watching, one of my reasons was like, dude, I'm watching the same matches every week. And I've been watching the same matches for every year. Like, how many intercontinental title runs from the Miz am I gonna see? Like, I don't care anymore, you know?
You sure? He's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and then, you know, Roman Reigns wearing the same outfit, I mean, obviously he's changed his gimmick now, but for a long time he was the same exact character.
Yeah.
To where, like, you watch Impact, they toy with the gimmicks a little bit more, but, you know, to kind of go back to the point of the question, at least we're getting fresh faces. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the endearing things about watching it, is that the roster is going to be different next year than it is right now, but it's not going to be the same show. So at least we're not getting the same matches over and over. And, you know, it's not Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre every single pay-per-view main event. You know, like, we get something fresh every time. So, you know, there is a positive side to it, the way I see it.
And again, just one last thing. Like, this goes back to another point that we were making last week, is like, at this stage, Impact is a developmental promotion. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Like, you know, maybe there'll be some boom period if they keep, you know, manifesting these relationships, cultivating them properly. You know, maybe there'll be some influx of viewers, and you know, and Impact will take off to another level and return back to the ascent to the apex of, you know, Impact Era 1, which was 2013. You know, in 2013, Impact was a legit number 2. That's what Impact was. But, you know, after the decline and now, you know, on the climb, Impact is a developmental territory. You know what I mean? Like, if we're being perfectly honest, Impact's claim to fame is that it's developing the stars who are going to big platforms. That's what they hang their hat on. That's why they mention AJ Styles each and every week on their television show, because they want you to know that this is where the people who you're going to love on Raw in a few years are developing and getting their start. That's who they are right now. And so, like, that's how they pay, you know, but again, like, just enjoy what they're giving you, but don't be mad at people for doing what they're supposed to do, right? Again, like, you're supposed to graduate from this place where you learn how to get over, right, to the place where you're performing. All right, so last question. This one is from Claire Impact, Claire Impact, Klayer Impact, whatever. Claire Impact. Question: if you could take one guy on the Impact roster and change their gimmick or increase their push, who would it be? And a little description of what you might do. Back when the Rascals were there a few months ago and Trey got attacked by a mystery person, I thought making it Dez and Wentz who attacked him would have been a great story. Turn them both heel and have a Rascals war, a Rascals civil war. Trey comes out a fiery babyface. Dez and Wentz can go on as a heel team. All right. So the question here is, if there's one guy whose gimmick you could change or increase his push, who would it be and what would you do?
All right. I'm going to touch on this Rascals thing real quick because I feel like I can talk about this now that they left the company. I don't think I've talked about this on the show before. When Trey got attacked, Trey got hurt. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't able to wrestle Ace Austin in the finals of that tournament. So they had to pull a sneak attack angle out of their ass, and Wentz wrestled. That's why none of it really made a lot of sense. And then when they did the final reveal, it meant nothing. They could have taken chicken shit, made chicken salad, but instead they just got it over with.
Yeah.
But they did this whole who attacked Trey. They didn't even know who attacked Trey for a couple of weeks. They didn't know where it was going. It just so happened it worked out with Madman Fulton. You know, they're able to pair him with Austin, and it worked. But the reason it was so unceremoniously done was because it was a storyline they pulled out of their ass because Trey couldn't wrestle in the finals. So I think Tommy Dreamer talked recently about reshooting that angle on Busted Open. So that's what happened with that. I would say Alicia Edwards because I've been saying for a long time, like, give her something to do. But now that she's doing the Tenille thing, I can live with that. So if I had to take someone and just say, we've got to fix this guy up, I would say Willie Mack. He's a guy that really he's been on the roster for a little while, and I'm watching him wrestle in this episode. I'm just like, dude, this guy has no gimmick. You know, when he had the contacts and everything, I was like, oh man, he looks different now. But he goes out there, he hits the stunner, he does the frog splash. There's just like so much to him that is like borrowed from other people.
Yeah.
And even Johnny Swinger said like this guy doesn't even have a gimmick, you know. I feel like there's something really, really missing from him. And I don't think he can get to that next level until they find something to like, hey, let's retool this guy. Like his music is horrible. That and Falaba, those are the worst theme songs in the world, I swear. And I think he's the only guy right now because I'll even throw one more name. I would like to see Cousin Jake do something different than the Diener thing, only because I see him wrestle here locally up the road, and just I see something different from him, and I know what he's capable of. So I wouldn't mind seeing him branch off from the Dieners eventually. But I think for the most part, they do a good job of finding something for everybody. So it's a little difficult for me to answer, but I would say Willie Mack is someone that I don't know what I would do with him, but I would fix something about him.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a difficult question to answer, but listen, if you had asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have said Trey Miguel. I would have said, take Trey Miguel and give him some time to, cultivate his singles act. And, I think he can be an X Division champion for sure. And, bring something interesting to that title. I also, if you'd asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have said Moose. I would have said Moose has been in Impact. He's been putting in the work, and I think he's ready for, to be a headliner. But now he's it clearly appears that he's on that path. And also, if I had thought about this 2 weeks ago, I would have said Chris Bay. Chris Bay's got all the charisma, all the talent, all the wrestling ability to be a headliner. And I think he just needs the opportunity to do that. But it looks like he's getting a chance to kind of get a brush with that spot. And so what I'm left with is Triple XL. I would take Triple XL and give them a monster push. They should be steamrolling people. They should be going in the ring and leaving carnage, and they should look damn near unbeatable. And that's why, just kind of bringing it full circle here, how I started. My first thing I said today, or one of the first things I said today, is I would have had them really dominate that match against the Motor City Machine Guns, but still had the Machine Guns find a way to win. Triple XL, to me, they have all the characteristics of just this dominant heel tag team, and I think they can still be that. So yeah, I would change their, not necessarily change their gimmick. I keep their gimmick as it is, but I just turn them into monsters. I make them, stop selling for people, steamroll everybody. Yeah. And just look like something people have to see, have to fear, have to hate. That's what I would do with Triple XL. All right, so
I'd even throw my guys Reno Scum in there.
Oh yeah, man, you was rocking the shirt and you ain't even.
Yeah, I'm rocking the shirt, man. But the thing is, that's just their gimmick, But I would find a way to freshen them up.
Yeah,
even if it sucks they don't have Christina Von Eerie anymore, because if you would have just added her to the group,
yeah,
it would have, like what I said. Sometimes just a female really elevates. So, Okay, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna thank everybody for sending in their comments. Please keep sending in the comments. Drop your comments under the video. This is going to be a big, exciting show. I know you guys are anticipating a lot going on. So go ahead and drop your comments underneath the video. Drop your name and where you're from. We're going to give you a shout out. And yeah, thank you guys so much for participating in the show. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Let's keep the conversation going.
Hell yeah. And if we get one of those months, or one of those weeks, I should say, one of those episodes where we just get a whole ass load of questions and really good comments, and maybe we'll like really dedicate a show just to doing that.
Hell yeah.
I think that'd be cool. But that will wrap it up for us this week. I am BQ. He is TW. This is the Cool Factor Podcast. Thanks for listening as always. We will talk to you guys next week, and we're going to see Kenny Omega on the show. From what I'm reading online, it's just going to be a pre-recorded segment, so don't get too crazy. Don't expect something too wild, but I think in due time we're going to start seeing that stuff. So that will do it for us. Thanks you for listening, and we're out. Peace.
Peace.